that we cringe on education, so we choose to be dumb. But I read about the times we was longer for one. Relic in the corner, couldn't eat with the dog. Evolution, the revolution, make us sleep with the fog.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Glow Podcast. Welcome back. Welcome back. I am so excited today because today we have a powerful message, and we love to share these powerful messages with you. It's something about education. Yes, and I'm ready. I don't know if you're ready. I don't know if you're ready, but maybe you should go and get your pen and pad. I have mine because I'm taking notes. I think you should want to take notes too. Yes. I'm Leah Taylor, also known as Lady Boss Leader. I'm here with
Lady of Inspiration
and
Lady Resilience
and
Praying Mother.
That's right. And we have a special guest. Her name is Gwendolyn Flynn. I want to let her introduce herself and tell you a little bit about what we're going to be talking about today. And then I'm going to come back and tell you how we even met. How are you, Miss Gwendolyn?
I am fantastic. I'm excited to be here with you ladies. You're such an inspiration.
Oh, thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yes, indeed. So I am a nonprofit leadership coach, and I work with individuals in the nonprofit sector, which is a really important sector, to help them become more effective in the work that they do. I help them overcome any challenges that they may be facing. And those challenges run the gamut from like meeting deadlines, having meetings that are productive rather than unproductive, of course, getting their board of directors activated and involved so that they become more of problem solvers, rather than just coming to meetings and listening to reports. So that's the kind of work that I do. And as I say, the nonprofit sector is a very important sector to our society, addressing some of the issues that face our communities that government's not equipped to do. There's the private sector isn't interested in doing. And so I see my work as being vital going forward. So
we definitely see your work as being vital. Yes, indeed. And number one for me is we're just starting a nonprofit. And so I'm going to be having questions. I know you are going to be having questions out there too. So just kind of listen and piggyback on our questions, and hopefully we will answer them for you. So let's just talk about how we even met. It was maybe 2-3 weeks ago, actually. We had a, networking party. And I flew out to LA because it was just something in my spirit that was telling me this is something that I need to be at. It's for Black entrepreneurs. And so it was a big networking party. This was their first one live, but they have several thousand members. And this was their first one live, like I said, in LA. And so I was like, this is something that I know I need to be at. And so Miss Gwendolyn was one of the first persons that I spoke with. And we just kind of, kicked it off over there on the couch. And we had a good conversation before everybody even came into the little circle that we were building on the side. And so I thought about her maybe a couple of days later. I was like, I definitely want to ask her if she would be a guest on our show. And she said, yes, she would love to. She said that she watched our last couple of episodes and she really enjoyed it. And so she's here today to share knowledge. That's the one thing that we definitely want to include. We are all about uplifting, empowerment, but leadership and also knowledge, because a lot of people have it, but most people don't want to share it. And so I want to say thank you so much for coming on and sharing what you're going to share with us.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely. I am so thrilled to have been invited to join you. I'm a woman of a certain age, and I've reached that age where the information, the experience that I have is just spilling out of me. It's like, okay, you're gonna have to shut me up because you may not even want to hear. But I feel compelled to share information because, like you said, somehow we've come through life and information access to information isn't readily available to us. And so through the years that I've been on this planet and have learned things, I am eager to share that information with those who are in my peer group, but certainly for those who are coming behind me, to make sure that you're getting this information and don't have to go through the same kinds of trials and tribulations that I went through in my, my time.
Absolutely.
Well,
Absolutely.
we're definitely excited to have you join us today.
Absolutely.
And you said something that, really goes hand in hand with what we're all about. And you said something about you help them overcome any issues. And we're all about overcoming.
Yes.
I have a
That's
question
that
for
key
you.
word.
As a nonprofit, do you have to start off with a business plan?
Yes, thank you for that question. Because I think there's a lot of misconceptions out there about nonprofits. And more for nonprofits to be successful, that means that, they're here for more than just 5 years. They must start out with a business plan. And that plan has to include first of all, what problem are you thinking about solving? And why is it that you think you can solve it? Who is the population you're trying to serve? What information is out there that, I guess maybe, I guess I'm getting into like data and statistics, like what information is out there that says that this is a problem that you can solve?
Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
So those are some of the components of a business plan. And people think that because it's a nonprofit that, you don't have to operate like for-profit businesses.
Yeah.
But in fact, you really do. In fact, there's a lot that goes into getting a nonprofit started. Let me just say that.
Well, do you help folks from A to Z? Do you help them get started? Do you help them in the middle and then at, towards the end as well? Or do you just show them in the right way, direct them to the right path? How do you go about that?
So up until recently, when I say in the last couple of years, I have been working with nonprofits that have been established already.
Okay.
They've been around for 5 years or more, and they may have staffs of maybe 5 to 20 people. But in the last couple of years, I have been working with nonprofits that are startups. Do they have a concept that they want to implement, or they've been around for a couple of years and they're still struggling and they need some guidance. So in the last couple of years, I have been working with new nonprofits or startup nonprofits. And depending on what their needs are, it runs the gamut. So as I said about getting a board of directors together is important. And it's important because it shows it's related to your funding.
Oh,
and
yes.
You're going to need funding in order for you to operate. And the funders want to see what the management and leadership is of the nonprofit, because and you have to get into the mindset of funders. So they see themselves as making an investment. If they're going to fund you, making an investment in your organization. And they're not going to make an investment in your organization if there's only one person that's doing everything. And because they're not gonna see that their investment, the money that they invest in the organization is going to give them a return on their money, which is, are you going to achieve the goal that you set out? Like, what is your mission? What are your goals? And are you going to be able to achieve the goals that you set out? And if you've got this big plan of doing all these things, and it's only one person, and you
Mhm.
have people helping you, the funders aren't likely to fund you.
Right. It's like, how are you going to get this accomplished if you're just rolling by yourself? That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you got to get into the mindset of those people who you are approaching for funds to help you implement your idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the nonprofits that you came aboard to help, how are they doing thus far at the point of your entry? Were they doing okay? Were they were in need of a lot of help, or was it like what was going on?
So the nonprofits that are established, they've usually I've come in for them to help their staffs who are either being groomed for a position of greater responsibility, or they just got that promotion and they need some like fine tuning around. Now, how, in the position that I had before, I didn't have any staff reporting to me. Now I'm in a position of more responsibility and I've got staff reporting to me. So what is my relationship? How does that relationship change? So that's traditionally what I've been working with nonprofits on. For the new organizations that I've been working with, been working with them on helping them pull together their organization, what I call the infrastructure, like again, it's their board, again, it's their processes and practices that they're going to take on in order to achieve their goal, or the mission of the organization. And they, in those instances, depending on what their needs are, they have been able to move forward. They have now a board of directors in place. They have a process for recruitment and bringing the new board members on board going forward, because board members, they stay on for maybe 2 years, maybe 3 years. It depends on your bylaws. I've helped with getting bylaws together, but usually those are kind of services that I can refer to other folks. I help identify somebody who can help them with grant writing, because I don't do grant writing myself, but I work with a grant writer who's been very successful in getting awards for nonprofits. So it depends on what the organization's needs are, but those are some of the areas that I've worked with startup and maybe fledgling nonprofits that have worked, and they're able to progress and go forward.
Okay.
How does a person know to contact you when they need this kind of help?
That's a good question, because in the past it's been word of mouth. That's how people have come to me. So
Okay.
I'm trying to get my services out to kind of build a better, a larger clientele. And so I've been, just kind of networking with folks, and I have a website and work with somebody on that. And connected to the website is a newsletter that I distribute. And so those are the ways that I've been kind of getting word out beyond the word of mouth that I've built practice on.
So what is your website?
Okay, so the website is, you can go to www.gwendolynflynenterprises.com.
Okay. www.gwendolynenterprises.com.
gwendolynflynenterprises.com. I can, at the end of, I can share my screen and give you and show my contact information, including the website.
Perfect. We want folks to be able to contact you If they're in need of your help and your counseling and consulting, we definitely want people to be able to get into contact with you.
For
Yes.
sure. And I have a question for you. What would you say is the hardest part about starting a nonprofit?
Good question.
That is a good question. I think probably the hardest part early on is getting your 501c3. So that is an IRS tax status that designates you as an organization that can collect donations, and the donors can receive a tax credit for.
Okay.
So it comes from the federal government, and they are, and they have a process that's pretty involved.
Okay. I was gonna say grueling, but
Yeah.
pretty involved. Right. And that is something that you can actually do later. Like you can start your nonprofit, you're getting your name and making sure that it's cleared, and then you can get your 501 status later. Is that correct?
Yeah, but not too much later. If you wanted to collect donations, or however you want to structure your nonprofit, if it's a membership-based nonprofit, if it's relying on like private foundations or public money, you have to have that 501c3 status before you can really collect that and be able to have those donors and get their tax exempt, get that tax exempt status.
Okay. Do you know how long that process takes to get the 501?
Yeah, it could take anywhere from 3 months to a year.
Whoa.
A year?
That's whoa.
It can take some time. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
But I would say is as short as 3 months. If you have all your I's dotted and T's crossed,
Mhm.
or it could take 6 months or a year.
Mm.
So
I'm
I have
glad you
another
said,
question
oh, I'm
about
sorry,
that.
sis, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, sister.
No, you
Oh.
go ahead, because you're probably gonna ask what I was gonna say.
Okay. I was gonna say, so if a nonprofit starts, like we said, it starts with getting their name, acquiring their name, and who do they contact in order to start the process of getting the 501? Are they supposed to go straight to the IRS? Or is there a service that someone offers to help a nonprofit do this?
Yeah, if you want to do it yourself,
Mhm.
you would be contacting directly the IRS. You also have to contact your local jurisdiction. So you probably have to get like a business, even though you're a nonprofit, like a business operating permit.
Oh.
That's with the city the jurisdiction that you're in. And then there's the state franchise board.
Oh.
Register yourself as a nonprofit, and then and the IRS, and those things can be done like simultaneously. You don't have to do one and then wait and do the other. You can do it all simultaneously. The let me see, you asked another question that now I'm just losing it. The
I think I was just asking the process. How do you continue the process if you didn't start with a 501?
Yeah. So, and I know of, well, at least in the Los Angeles area, I'm not sure, because you're upstate.
Yes,
You're
we're in Northern California.
in California,
Hmm.
but I think there might be a similar organization there. So I was going to say you could go to a legal firm, and in Southern California, there's an organization called Public Counsel, and they are an institution of lawyers who work exclusively with nonprofits.
That's amazing.
And they work pro bono, which is
Oh,
free.
wow.
And they can help you with getting yourself started with talking to the IRS and 3 status and your determination. but also like helping you put together laws, which is the governing document for your board of directors. They can help you with that. And then along with that, I mean, there's conflict of interest policy and some other policies that you have to put in place. I think conflict of interest for the most part, and making sure that the board that you constitute is not working in conflict with your organization, like they're getting paid or something, you know, to do something that you're trying to do. So anyway, so there's those kinds of things, but public counsel, and I would guess that there would be a similar pro bono legal organization in Northern California that you could reach out to for their services that can help you with a lot of this.
Do you think that is something that someone can Google?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
So yes, disclaimer, I'm asking for myself and anyone out there that might need help with this, but yes, definitely I want to get a better understanding of starting a nonprofit. So yes, thank you. Like I said, thank you. Sister, you had a question, Laisha?
Yeah, I
Lady?
have a couple. You and Mom have actually touched on a few of them that I had. Miss Gwendolyn, you mentioned that it takes anywhere between 3 months to a year or somewhere in that time frame to get your 501(c). Is that around the same time frame that it takes to actually have your nonprofit start operating successfully? Or is it a longer time frame? Because for me, I know personally, patience is a virtue. I'm still working on that. So what would you suggest if anyone is trying to start a nonprofit, that they allow themselves the grace and the patience before they start actually seeing it? Because there's a lot of red tape, it sounds like you have to go through. So what is that time frame that you would say?
I say you could still do some things in getting your nonprofit up and running while you're waiting for that 501, that letter of determination that you are a nonprofit. And I say you need that determination letter in order for you to start collecting donations or any kind of funding that's going to help you with the implementation of your program. But in the meantime, you can be identifying, recruiting board of directors. You can be because it'll take some time to put that in place. You can just be talking to people and kind of getting the word out that you're coming, like
Okay.
with promoting movies.
Okay.
Coming
So you,
theater near you, and just kind of cascading your information out there so that people know that you're coming, so they can know to support you. Depending on what you're doing, being able to, well, you're going to be working on your business plan, I would think, and doing the research on who it is you're trying to serve and what the need is. So all of those things can be taking place while you're waiting for the letter, of determination of your
okay.
503.
And you said a couple of times that you need that 501 notification or letter of determination from the IRS in order to legally start asking companies or organizations or people for donations.
Absolutely.
That's asking, but the question is, before you get that letter, are you able to accept people who just want to pour into you or give to your organization because they, know what's coming or either believe in what you're doing? Is it okay to even not request it, but accept it?
Excellent question. I like that.
I would personally say no, but that's a question I would think for the attorneys, for the pro bono attorneys to answer.
Okay.
But I would not advise doing that. I think that could be problematic down the line.
Okay.
It's a little sticky, huh?
Attorneys may have a different point of view. Maybe, if you can, open up a bank account, because that's the other thing you're going to need to do, right?
Okay.
Open up a bank account and have the money just sitting there And if the folks who are donating to you trust that that the money is going to go there and it's not going to go, be diverted someplace else, then, maybe it's okay. But I would check with the lawyers. I would not advise that.
Okay. And then if I can ask another question, because you've mentioned several times that while you're in your process, that it would be a good idea to start putting together your board of directors. So my question regarding that is, what are some of the key positions that you would suggest are already in place before you actually start submitting your documentation or start seeking out investors for your nonprofit?
So if you don't have a pro bono legal firm that you're working with, I would suggest that your board composition include a lawyer who is somewhat familiar with the nonprofit. I would suggest a finance person, someone from banking or, that arena, who can, be able to help you with when money does start coming in. Someone, let me see who else. Those are some of the key. There's a third one that I'm not thinking about. I guess it would be a marketing person. Is somebody that you should think about bringing on board, who can help you with your, your social media, your traditional, original, whatever you call it, traditional media, but helping you get the word out about what you're doing, what you're trying to do. I think those are the three that come to mind immediately. What your mission is.
Then also board members, correct?
Yeah, these are board members.
Okay.
And their skill sets that bring to the board.
Gotcha. Okay.
Like banker, lawyer, marketing person.
A strong team. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
A lot of sense.
And did you say it's a 501(c) or a 501c?
501c3.
C3. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely.
And that is the certificate that allows you to operate as a nonprofit.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. And that's, federal.
Okay.
I have a question.
You won't have to.
What is one thing that you would share with people who may not know to ask about starting a nonprofit? What is something that's very vital as far as information in starting a nonprofit that people may not know to look for or to ask?
Okay, good question. I don't know if this answers this, but I know for the nonprofits that I work with, I look for people who have a passion for issue that you're trying to address. I have come across and heard about, but have come across folks who are interested in going into the nonprofit sector because they think it might be kind of an easy way to get money. And it's not. It's not that at all. It is first your passion for an issue, and an issue that you see there's a need that needs to be addressed in the community. And if you come with that kind of passion, you will attract that. We will help to get you your board members. But I certainly don't. I don't want to work with anybody who doesn't have that passion and who isn't about the mission of the organization. I think people lose sight of. Sometimes people lose sight of, what a nonprofit is supposed to be doing. They're collecting money, and to enrich yourself, because the money is not supposed to go to you anyway. It's to go back into the organization. But it's to address a societal need. And so I would put that as uppermost in the minds of people who are thinking about starting a nonprofit. Maybe as we talk, something else will present itself to me, but that's what comes to mind first and foremost. that,
Okay.
and it's not easy. I mean, it's the federal government makes it not easy for you to get these started, but.
I could imagine. Are there some industries, Miss Gwendolyn, that you personally see a need for, being an expert in this field already of supporting nonprofits and startups and existing nonprofits? What are some industries that you see a need for?
So when you say industries, you mean, are there issues out there that need to be addressed?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I'm in, and please call me Gwen.
Okay.
I feel like an old lady when you call me this. But when I guess maybe this is a bias that I have, but homelessness is, and I think there are a lot of people out there, but I think that they are, it's almost like people see the need for it, and so they're scrambling to try to figure out how to address the need. And there seems to be a lot of duplication and a lot of overlap. But homelessness, and we got to figure out how to do it, and how to do it in an effective way to really address this thing. There are people out here who are hungry, and I guess again, some of this is my own bias because I am working in the homeless space. I got a project percolating around that, and I come out of sort of a public health point of view in terms of food and food insecurity, what they call food insecurity. And so have worked in that in the past. I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a minute, I think. But anyway, there are folks and families who are going around hungry, which is, I mean, it's just incredible that we live in a country that is so affluent, that has, everything it needs, but there's a segment of our community that's being overlooked. And we have the food. It's not like restaurants are throwing away food. I'm in Los Angeles, where it's the entertainment, capital of the world, and those movie sets and commercial sets have caterers that come and bring food to the actors that are performing in these things. And at the end of the day, sometimes they throw that food away when it can go to places where, who are feeding these folks. So anyway, so I see those are two areas that I see that there is a need in, and it's not like we don't have the wherewithal to address this. We do, but we just are doing it in either a haphazard way where homelessness is concerned, or we are kind of wasteful, basically. And that doesn't need to happen.
Agreed.
So those are the areas that I see there's a need.
And just to speak on what you were just speaking on, it's sickening and sad to see, because one of the jobs that I was working on, it was during the pandemic and everybody had to get the shots. So they had a whole big organization, a big facility, everything was set up, and they brought in the National Guards, and they brought in all kind of military folks, and so they would feed them every day, have coffee, they have the whole 9 yards, coffee, snacks, then breakfast, then lunch, more snacks, and then dinner. But every single day, this is fresh food, but every single day they would throw tons and tons of food away because a certain somebody or a certain organization paid for it. And instead of just giving it away to people that in need, they threw it away, which makes absolutely no sense to me. So I have to agree.
And, another thing that goes along with that, Sister Too, is what I found out from somebody that works in that industry, they also can't give it away because of liability. Like if
that's true,
which I still disagree with. We still should be able to give this away if there is a need.
Especially
so I'm not saying that I agree
right
with that, but I know that that's a bigger issue too. They don't want to be held liable if somebody was to get sick or food poisoning or something of that nature.
Yes, and I understand that, but just like we were saying, it's still sad to see that instead of giving it away to somebody who's in need, then we're just throwing it away. Because like I said, they're making this food fresh every single day.
Absolutely.
Yes. Yes.
But there is a law on the books. I'm not sure if it's national, but I'm sure it's in the state of California. It's called the Good Samaritan Law. And that protects organizations that want to give food away to, organizations that are food. So that they are not liable for anything that happens. It's called the Good Samaritan Law. So
That's
there's
amazing.
protections there for organizations.
Oh, I'm
You know what,
that's coming into place.
to piggyback off of what Nay said, that I guess that still baffles me too, because I too have been informed that companies waste food, organizations waste food because they don't want to be held liable for feeding someone who may be in need. So they just throw it away. But to Leah's point, this is the same food that y'all just sold to me, that you just served to my family. So I'm like, I'm confused on where the liability is if you just received money for this very food that you are now saying somebody who can't afford to pay for food can't have. So I'm confused about that. But I guess instead of just giving it away so they don't have to have that fear of being responsible, there should be, like, you know how when you go to grocery store parking lots or mall parking lots, sometimes you see those big bins for clothing and furniture donations or things of that nature. There should be something like that kind of put in place, because people who are homeless are really not caring about the temperature of their food. When I see them out there, digging in trash cans or looking to pick up what I just sat down and see if it's anything that they can take with them, they not caring about the temperature. So I always thought to myself, why not have bins, not like a bin where you dump the clothes in, but some type of station set up. Like you said, this is the most affluent country. I'm sure there's something that they can put in place where they can have a section for fruits and vegetables or breads, or, we got plenty of containers we could put food in. So I'm still confused about that as well. So I'm happy to hear about that makes no sense to me.
Because if it's good enough to serve to this person 3 moments ago, why is it not good enough to serve somebody who actually needs it and in need?
Exactly. Exactly. So I don't know. That is something that kind of bothers me as well. It actually bothers me a lot. I'm happy to hear about the Good Samaritan law, but you have more people who are afraid of being good Samaritans because they're worried about the punishment that they may receive for it. But then every time you turn on the TV or look at the newspaper, you got people preaching about we need to do something to help this population. So I'm like, what are we doing? Like, 1 minute it's we need to do something, and the next minute is you're gonna be in trouble if you do. My mother recently was cited by an officer at a park near her home. She goes there on a regular basis and she likes to feed the homeless. She's been doing it for years. These people have been there for years, so they know her. She's comfortable. It scares me, but she's comfortable with it. And one day an officer happened to have told her that she was a part of the reason on why these people are not getting themselves together, and that if he saw her again feeding the homeless, he was going to ticket her.
You have to be kidding me.
I wish I was.
To be kidding me.
So I'm confused. Y'all have to know my mother as well as Leah does to know that just went in one ear and out the other.
That's right.
But it still is very sad, okay, that now she's, got to sneak and tip and creep just to be able to be a blessing to other people who are not in a position to help themselves.
But not only that, every single street corner in Oakland, you can find somebody selling food. Why they not approaching them? They selling food, but you approach somebody that's giving away, that's a good Samaritan, that's doing a good deed, that's doing doing God's work, and you're approaching somebody who's doing something good. Not saying that they're out there trying to make a living, but you're not approaching them, and they out there every single day selling food that they don't have a permit to do.
You know what? Now you preaching, because I know good and well most of them taco stands, fruit stands, this stand and that stand. I know most of them do not have permits. And listen, I'm not talking about them because I love me a agua fresca. Okay, I love me a little horchata. So I'll be out there supporting them too. Let me stop. But you do have a good point. I don't see them out there trying to make sure that they have a business license, but
No.
yet somebody who's trying to do good by somebody is going to get cited. So I'm so confused. This country is so amazing and so backwards to me at the same time.
So backwards.
Yeah.
There's
From
so,
every single aspect is so backwards.
there's so many contradictions. I mean, that's
Yes,
some
ma'am.
just can't make sense of at all. It's just
Yes.
But so let me tell you how I got into working in this practicing
Please.
of
Yes,
the
because that was my next question. How did you enter this world? What started you on this journey? And then what's kept you there all this time?
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Shaking her.
I
Oh,
I
shit.
am a
Oh God.
basic social activist
You see this knot?
and have always found my way to working with nonprofits, even when I was working in the corporate world. Um, so and for me, it's about a social activist because whenever I see this inequity in the world, I want to try to fix it. I want
Okay.
to try to,
Okay.
make it so that we all have an even footing and all have an even opportunity to be our best selves and to do what it is we want to do to thrive and flourish as individuals. So coming out of the corporate world, I started working in nonprofit, and I ended up at an organization that worked in South LA, and it was around food insecurity. It was about making sure that people had access to fresh, wholesome foods to keep them healthy, so that there
Okay.
were health disparities.
Is that like the food banks or like churches and building things like that give away the food?
No, so this organization worked in health policy,
Oh, okay. Okay.
policy, changing policy to make it easier for people to get access to medical care, okay, for a doctor or whatever.
Okay.
People to have greater access to nourishing foods that's going to keep them healthy and keep them from getting all of these chronic illnesses. And we were focused on the African American community. And making sure that people had healthcare insurance. And this is before the Affordable Care Act, also known as the Obamacare. Okay, so worked in that arena for 16, 17 years. But in the course, towards the end of my time with this organization, I observed the deaths of 5, and these are 5 women who were executive directors of their nonprofit. And usually it's women that head up these nonprofits. There are some men too. But anyway, I observed 5 women who were executive directors of different nonprofits who died in office over a 4-year period. So 5 women died over a 4-year period while they were in office. And none of those organizations, some of them had been around for a long time. Some of them had been around for maybe less than 5 years, but they were struggling. They didn't have a succession plan. They didn't have in the sports world, they call it a bench. They didn't have somebody who was going to, a pipeline of leadership who was going to replace them should something to happen to them. And those organizations struggled. 2 of them.
Wow.
One of them was an organization that was providing services to infants and their mothers. So it was like I think it was called Great Beginnings for Black Babies. And then so they were providing like needed services. Another one was an organization that was providing programming to what used to be called at-risk youth. So they were keeping young people out of gangs.
Okay.
They had to close because they didn't have, they didn't have a strong board, first of all, and they didn't have anybody to come along to replace the executive director that died. But there were 3 that did. They struggled, but they did continue. They were flailing around for a while, but they did continue. And I thought, how is this happening? And most of these, as I said, work in maybe I didn't say that, but they worked in the Black community. But you heard me describe the missions. the two different missions of those organizations that closed, and how badly needed they were. I don't think anything came along to replace those organizations either. Maybe, but anyway, but that brought home to me that there was a need for someone to help those organizations establish themselves in a stronger footing so that they don't close when the leadership is gone. Like their leadership was the focal point of the organization, and it really shouldn't be that way anyway. You shouldn't have one personality, one personality for an organization. That's why it's important to have a board, a strong board of directors, and it's important to have strong supporters, you know, to your organization. Anyway, so that's what got me into this. We can go on another show and talk about those women who worked themselves to death. That's basically what happened. They worked themselves to death. And, you know, we as women, I'm telling you, you have to shut me up. We as women have to we are so used to taking care of other people.
Yes. Yes.
We're all guilty
about taking care of ourselves. And this is what happened to these women, that they just, you know, kind of ignore. I'm sure that some of them, I know one of them, because she was the executive director of the organization I worked for, she developed cancer. And so it wasn't like a sudden, you know, thing that came on. This was something that was happening over the course of time that she ignored and put other people first. I'm telling you, this is another show because I want to talk about that too. And this is going to lead into my talk about the book that I wrote. But that's what motivated me to get into helping nonprofits. And like I say, the organizations that I work for that are established, they've been around maybe more than 5 years, but they're small. They're still small organizations. They only have like, and I'm guessing at their budgets, but maybe 5 million or less. And they have, you know, like I said, 5 to 20 maybe staff people. So that's why I am interested in helping even startup nonprofits and maybe those that have been around a couple of years. But anyway, these are fairly small nonprofits that are badly needed in the community, and you know, we can't have them closing their doors because they didn't have a succession plan. They didn't have a pipeline. So that's what got me into this.
Okay. So at what point of building a nonprofit, because I believe it was Janae that asked earlier about like what steps do you take or what is the minimum? And you mentioned some of the key things, but having a succession plan or a successor sounds just as important as putting together the board. So at what point do we start training someone else, you know, to do what you can do? And not even if you pass away, but even if you need to step away for a second or take a break or anything of that nature, somebody who can, you know, pick up the ball and keep running with it. So at what point do you suggest a nonprofit implements that?
Yeah, I think you need to have it in as part of your business plan, basically.
Okay.
So that so that you are prepared for what's to come. Actually, maybe that's a little prepared. So business plans usually cover like a 3-year period, but you need to be thinking about that, you know, and as your organization grows, you're bringing on staff that's going to help in implementing the services that you say you're going to provide, or the whatever it is that you're going to provide. But think about that as you're hiring your staff, like what kind of talented person are you looking for? And then who could be like your deputy, or whatever your positions are that in your organization. Okay. Like you have somebody who is that you're pinpointing as somebody who will be groomed to be your replacement. Should you have to take a leave of absence, have to go, you know, something dramatic happens and you have to, you know, you're no longer around, like who is that person going to be? Okay. And so you should be thinking about that from the giddy up.
Okay. And include that in the plan. Yeah. I'm sorry, Mom. Okay.
Okay, I have a question. So now your staff, you said hire. and you on the board, you know, all these people involved in this nonprofit organization, how do they get paid?
So first of all, the board does not get paid. They should.
Okay.
Okay.
Board should be volunteers. And there are situations where I know I was a part of a state board. This is in California again, and it was it was an organization that serviced the state of California, and we would meet as a board member. We call ourselves whatever we call ourselves. Anyway, as a board member, we would meet in various locations around California. While I wasn't getting paid to be on the board, we were getting reimbursed or compensated for our travel. So that kind of compensation is okay with a nonprofit. So, you know, whatever mode of transportation you took, flying, train, whatever it was, if we had an overnight stay in a hotel, if meals were covered, that would be an okay compensation for having served on the board. But there's no salary that you are giving to a board member.
Okay.
Staff is different. Staff is, you're paying that staff person to implement the programs that you want to implement in order to address whatever the societal need is. And so the money for that, that's what you have to fundraise to get. And
Okay.
with 501c3, it would be easier for you to fundraise getting donations or grants or, you know, however, membership, whatever it is that you can, you know, your approach would be, that money will come a little bit easier once you have that 501c3 status, and you can say to your donors that this contribution you're making is tax deductible.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And is there some type of letter that needs to be already pre-written to provide over to your investors or your contributors? Or is it something that you only provide if they request it?
You can provide it because once you get your letter of determination,
Okay.
so that's one document that you can provide to whoever the funder is if they ask you for it. But you're going to be assigned like a number, like and you can use that number to give to whoever your donors are. That this is a whatever, I think they call it an employee identification number.
The EIN, yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and to show that you are a nonprofit in whatever number they might assign to the determination letter, to show that you are indeed a nonprofit organization. And I've seen, you know, like the United Negro College Fund has these little strips of paper that have all kinds of legalese. Again, this is probably a question for the attorneys, that that they will give once you make a donation, and they send once the, you know, the individual makes a donation to the organization will acknowledge receipt of that, showing them that little slip of paper with their you know, nonprofit status on it.
Okay.
With their thank you card saying, thank you for making this such and such donation, and here's how we're going to use it, that kind of thing.
So is it safe to say, and I know we're getting ready to wrap up, and I know the ladies and I have enjoyed speaking with you and learning so much. We could probably talk to you much longer. So this hour is flying by. But is it safe to say, with Mom's question, with Mama Rita's question, about payment to the board of directors, your board of directors needs to have another stable source of income, and basically needs to be some people who believe in the mission and the vision, because there is no payment for this.
Absolutely. Okay. So, and there's a whole process for identifying and onboarding boards of directors. And part of it, you know, like having a questionnaire or interviewing them so that you know where they're coming from, and they know where, you know, what the expectations are for being on the board. And part of that expectation is There is no compensation for being on the board. You have to have, and you can, gauge that by the interview. You have to have, you have to be in alignment with the mission of our organization. So maybe you don't have the same amount of passion as you do for the issue, but at least they have to be in alignment. They have to agree with, what your organization is about, your mission of your organization, and agree to support it in whatever way you think is necessary for them to support it. A lot of boards are have this give-get policy, they call it.
Okay.
If you're on the board, you are responsible for either raising a certain amount of money to go to the organization, it's not for you, or you contribute a certain amount of money, that same amount of money to the organization. That's another kind of way of fundraising, but also about showing their commitment to the organization.
Wow. Well, ladies, I know that we are coming to an unfortunate close in our show with Miss Gwendolyn, and I know she told me to stop calling her Miss, but it's just not going to happen. I do apologize. It's just in my DNA to address you properly. But are there any final questions or anything that we want to say or ask before we pass it over to Mama Rita to go ahead and lead us out in prayer?
Well, definitely we want to give a chance. I know you said that you had a book that you wanted to speak about. So can you give us a quick briefing on about your cookbook?
Yes, and where it can be purchased?
Yes.
Yes, I don't know if you can see this. So this is the book that I wrote called Age-Defying, Soul-Inspired Plant-Based Cooking. It's self-published, and it's available on Amazon. And I wrote it, again, it's about overcoming, right? To overcome some health challenges.
Okay.
About those women who died in office, who just ignored them, their health issues and ended up dying. Anyway, this book came about as a result of some challenges that I was faced with. That's a whole nother show. But I needed to get some answers, and the medical community wasn't giving me the answers to them. So I did some.
Sis.
Okay, that's all about
You about to start up something, Miss Gwendolyn.
See, that's a whole nother show.
It is.
Well, we definitely want to have you back again.
Oh my goodness.
I got a soapbox for that. But anyway, so in the research that I did, I found ways of controlling my blood pressure, cholesterol, lost some weight, was called diabetic, type 2 diabetes. And in changing my diet, I was able to control all of those things. And so I wrote this book to share that with other people who may have similar challenges that they're facing. So that's what that's about.
Can you show that book one more time, please, so our viewers can make sure that they get that?
It's called Age-Defying, and that's a whole story too. Soul-Inspired Plant-Based Cooking. And it'll help you show how you can, instead of reaching for your medicine cabinet,
come on now,
reach for your refrigerator or your pantry or your garden.
Oh yes.
To take in fresh, wholesome foods, plant forward. I do eat fish, and I get protein from nuts and beans and that kind of thing. But for the most part, it's plant forward, my eating.
Very nice.
And
fantastic.
So maybe you can invite me back. We can talk about that.
I think so.
Yes. As Mom said, we definitely will have you back. It has been truly a pleasure. You have so much knowledge that you see we just want to soak up. So we really do appreciate you coming on and joining us. We really hope to have you back.
I really enjoyed this, ladies, talking with all of you. I'm so glad we met, Leah. Thank you for this.
Yes.
Aisha, Jeanette, and Rita.
Thank you. It was a pleasure meeting you as well.
Yes, such a pleasure.
Yes. So, well, how we close our show, before we close our show, we need to tell people where to find us, right?
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Please email us at booktcll24@gmail.com. Visit our website at booktcll24.com. Call us 510-613-5229. We are always interested in bringing on guests that have spectacular stories,
Inspiring stories,
or some education that they're willing to share. So please, also, they need to do something else, right? They need to send us, what's the challenge they need to send us?
Let me tell you what y'all need to do. And we are so grateful. We are getting so many responses online and offline regarding y'all support of us. We are so grateful, but we would really, really love to make sure that we are not just the only ones that are bringing in the guests and the subjects that we want to learn about. We want to make sure that we are touching the hearts and lives of the subjects that you guys want to know about. So please, that challenge is still on. My social media manager posted that. Using those forms of contact that Lady Boss Leader gave out, reach out to us and let us know about some of the subjects that you guys want to learn about. We greatly appreciate it.
Absolutely. Also find us on IG, Facebook. You see us on YouTube. But reach out to us. Let us know what's on your mind so we can bring it to the forefront. And, we close our show with positive prayer.
Absolutely.
So we're going to hand it over to Mama. And we want to, before we do that, we want to say thank you so very much for joining us, Miss Gwendolyn. I know you said don't call you, but it's a form of respect that we learn from our mothers. And so we just want to extend a very warm thank you to you, because it's nothing like sharing what you know.
Yes. And keep your calendar open. Like our sister Nate said, we cannot wait to have you back. And we totally
I want to
agree
pick your brain about some more stuff. You was talking about
come on now,
ready for new positions and stuff. I got some questions about that. So please come back and join us again.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you for having me. Look forward to a future conversation.
Okay. Mom?
Okay. I want to read something from this book. It's 199 Promises of God. That's how I'm going to start it off. It says, for the Lord your God is he that goeth with you to fight for you against your enemies to save you. Deuteronomy 20:4. And so as I pray us out, the Lord your God is he that goeth with you. And we know that he said that I will never leave you nor forsake you. I will be with you always. And we also know that he's fighting for us, because the battle is not ours, but it is the Lord. And when he's fighting your battle, you will be victorious. So we're saying, thank you, Father God, in the name of Jesus. We thank you for all that you have done. We thank you for blessing and keeping us in your care. And while we leave this podcast, keep us in your presence as you said you would. Continue to bless us, keep us, lift us up as we praise your holy name. And in Jesus' name we say thank you and amen.
Amen.
Amen. Okay, this is Glow, reminding you to be you, because everybody else is taken. We also want you to remember that you were created to overcome. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Bye.